Good afternoon and welcome to the New York Film Festival.
So here he was in this situation with us as impressionable 20-year-old students who were also very passionate about film. And he was determined to make a film. That's the only way he could teach, for one thing. And the kind of collaboration that it was, I don't know about the multiple image thing, if that came out of a preconceived idea or if we realized soon on that he couldn't make a conventional film with us. I'm not sure. I just know there was a crystallizing moment for me. I think it was the 2 weeks without sleep prior to a screening at Warner Brothers, where suddenly we were, for weeks we were shooting disparate scenes, and then suddenly Nick said, we got to get this ready for a rough cut at Warner Brothers. And that was pretty intense, and then I saw that this is really going to be something. Did all kinds of things, and I just finished my first feature-length documentary called 1913 Massacre, which is based on the Woody Guthrie song of that name. And a funny thing happened making that film. I went to the Woody Guthrie archives, and we were rephotographing a lot of the material there, and I came across a telegram that Nick sent to Woody, and I just nearly dropped over it. And when I was watching the film the other night, Nick says at one point, take it easy, but take it. And that was Woody Guthrie's signature comment. So in terms of the influence...
Lead belly, sorry.
What's that?
It was lead belly.
Well, Woody used it. Woody used whatever. But the experience with Nick it taught me a lot about the guts that you have to be a filmmaker.
I also continue to make work. In some ways, that is such a great question, and I won't do it justice. And I'm sure all of us will think of other things we wanted to say in response to that. I had the situation, and actually Nick figured it out quickly because Nick asked a lot of questions of you to figure out who you were. And I told him that my father, Harold Boda, was one of the pioneers of electronic music tool development, and he was very interested in electronic music. And I told him that my brother Ralph was a cinematographer here in New York, soon to do Saturday Night Fever and a lot of other films. And then I was in Binghamton and was working with Nick, and there was something that was about that was very rich in that combination. And then after having had the chance to work with Nick, part of what he did was really give us permission to dig in and get to some place, and then to respond to and build the film.
He and I put together a kind of treatment for a scenario. However, as soon as he started working with the students and getting to know them, that shifted. The overall structure of making a film in order to teach film remained the same, but the different threads definitely shifted.
This issue of sort of finding something inside yourself, right? Muscle memory, etc. There's a whole style of filmmaking that was about digging into yourself. And Nick asked lots of questions, right? There was a lot of conversation that was not, he was tapping into you and tapping into some things that were not necessarily all that clear to yourself or all that comfortable. So in a sense, his methodology, I think he had a script in mind, and he was also willing to let that shift because he was also looking at the script of the people in front of him. And again, because he was really a constructor of films, he could do that. I think, and there's lots of stages where, in fact, and he does it at points in the film also, where there's narration and there's various devices where if it wasn't in the scene, he knew he had a whole set of tools of how it could go into the scene.
Multiple image was an obsession of his from back in the early 60s.
Medieval artists, medieval painters painted multiple images. He was aware that this was an old tradition in image making. It wasn't all single perspective at a certain period, and that these were narrative paintings, they were cosmological paintings, and that was this remarkable model for what you might do with film that film had not really explored. And I think there was a part of Nick that was a formalist as well as the politics. I think he could really do sort of modernism and postmodernism, or modernism and politics together. I don't think there was any problem for him with that. In his architecture background, again, I think gave him some real conceptual tools to think about how to deal with space and cinema. And that's in his movies, and in the 50s movies, we see this amazing sensitivity to location and space. And this was a new twist on it, this notion of the multiple image, and how that might work then psychologically and in terms of developing the narrative. Because that's the other part. As much as Nick was a formalist, as much as he was interested in technology, he was really interested in human beings, and how cinema was a unique tool to unleash and articulate something about human beings, using, as he said, every trick in the book for that purpose.
Multiple projectors, multiple screens, for, I don't know how long it was, about 20 minutes or half an hour or something like that?
Selected scenes.
Selected scenes, and we were basically bending, we had aluminum kind of mirrors that we were bending the light to try to make, to try to distort the image as in terms of the frame around the main image. And we were just showing, they must have thought we were crazy. I mean, it was it was a great event for us, and it was a catharsis for us, I think. But it didn't get us anything. So.
I think that what Nick does in this film is unique in that it's really everyday life. It's not the Woodstock Music Festival. It's not an extraordinary event. It's everyday life. At a very critical point in our cultural history, at a point, and he spoke about this often, this was a time when young people were withdrawing from the political confrontations of the 60s, and they were withdrawing with a sense of hopelessness and a sense of betrayal by their elders.